Did you know that police might be using drones to spy on you right now? And believe it or not, some of these drones may even look like real birds. Today we'll explore number 1, whether police drones flying above your home is trespassing. Number 2, we're going to talk about whether you can take them down if you see them. And then number 3, we're going to talk about the legality of law enforcement using drones around private property. Stick around till the end of this video to see what these bird-like drones look like and to find out where they are currently being used for surveillance. Police departments all over the country are currently using drones to spy on their residents. Over 1,400 law enforcement agencies are currently using drone technologies to interact with their people. In fact, just a few days ago in Arlington, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, Texas, we found out that local law enforcement, the Arlington Police Department, they were actually using drone technologies to try to snoop on people to find out who was shooting off illegal fireworks. Not only did they monitor people with these drones, they actually put a speaker on the drone and they interacted with the people they found and they issued them tickets. This is not just in Texas. In fact, the Denver Police Department recently started using drone technology in order to respond to 911 calls. The police are claiming they're only going to use these drones to verify the call and scope out the severity of the situation, but it makes me ask the question, how far will the cops take the use of drone technology? What are the legal limits? Can cops trespass on your property with a drone? Can they use a drone to go to places without a warrant that they could never go to on foot? Are there limits to how powerful the cameras are that can be attached to these drones? What if cops start using facial recognition software on these drones? Are there any limits to where these drones can be flown and how often? Before we get to the case law surrounding the use of drones by law enforcement, here is a crazy reality. Not only are police using drone technology to interact with people, but sometimes they're using drones that look like real birds to snoop on people. I know some people are crazy enough to believe that all birds are actually drones. I get it, there's an actual movement that believes this. But is it possible that government could be looking at drones that looked almost identical as a bird? You couldn't tell the difference between a bird and a drone. And if they are using them, how would we know that the government is snooping on us? There are currently drones available for public use and public purchase right now that look like birds and they fly just like birds. Recently, scientists have now been able to take dead birds from taxidermists and outfit them with drone technology to where it's difficult to be able to tell the difference between a bird and a drone. We have known for some time that military technology has been using what looks like an eagle to fly through the sky and be able to map out terrain, use thermal imaging, and facial recognition software to be able to tell and snoop on people in battlefield situations. I know what you're thinking. It's ridiculous to think that law enforcement would actually use this technology on me, right? But what about the technology? How advanced is it really? Is it advanced enough to actually be able to be used and you would never know it? We already know that the tech is there. In fact, recently we learned that scientists have been able to hijack dragonflies' brains in order to use them as a drone. They are extremely maneuverable and they can be controlled by the handler. But here is the big reason I'm concerned that law enforcement will be using this particular technology, bird drones, sooner rather than later. We already know that China has been using bird drones for years to spy on its own people. That's right, China has been using bird drones for years, and they have perfected this technology, codenamed Dove, to spy on their people. These drones mimic the flapping wings of a real bird, and they have incorporated the following technology: high-definition cameras, GPS technology, flight control systems, facial recognition, and thermal scanning capabilities. I know, it's China, right? We would never do anything like this in the United States. Actually, too late. As crazy as it may seem to think that the US government would use any type of drone technology to spy on its own people, the reality of it is decades ago, the CIA was using pigeons with high-definition cameras to spy on Americans. Why do I bring this up? Because if agencies have used similar technology decades ago to spy on its people, should we really be that surprised if they used newer, even better technology to do it again, even in the United States? Now, before I go any further down this rabbit trail, let's ask the real important question here. Is any of this legal? Here is the sad reality. The United States Supreme Court has not kept up with changing technology. In fact, Fourth Amendment case law is decades behind when it comes to regulating technology like drones. So currently, we are left with referring to existing case law about manned aircraft and helicopters to help give us some guidance on whether drone technology is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. In Oliver versus U.S., the Supreme Court ruled, quote, "Police may lawfully survey open fields from the air, including any unoccupied or undeveloped area outside of the curtilage." What does this mean? The curtilage of your home is essentially referring to the area immediately surrounding your home, like your backyard, maybe the area that's fenced in, your front yard, like your front porch. But when we talk about open fields, we're talking about any other area of your private property that is separate from that curtilage. The Oliver case actually set up a standard here where the police can survey and snoop on your property in any area that is labeled an open field. So if they're in the air, they can look in that area and it's legal. The Supreme Court further ruled in California versus Serralo that there was no Fourth Amendment violation for, quote, "warrantless observation and photography of the defendant's fenced-in backyard by manned surveillance from a fixed-winged aircraft." In other words, the cops did not have to have a warrant in order to take a fixed-wing aircraft and fly above someone's fenced-in backyard and take photos. The court really seemed to emphasize that the officers were in a fixed-wing aircraft in a place where the public could have been on their own. This case made it even more specific by ruling that if the cops are seeing what's going on in your yard from a place that the public can also see, then now it is not even considered a search by the Fourth Amendment. Therefore, the cops can spy on you. But what about the airspace above your property? In Florida versus Riley, the Supreme Court held here that lower altitude camera-equipped drone flight over private property was not an unreasonable search under the Fourth Amendment. The court focused in on that the defendant must, quote, "bear the burden of proving his expectation of privacy was a reasonable one." So what does this all add up to? Under current Supreme Court law, it would appear that police use of drones above your property does not create any greater intrusion of privacy than manned aircraft surveillance from the old cases that were already ruled upon. But there is one big exception. Because drones are regulated under the FAA, you cannot have police agencies secretly using drone technology. Because under FAA regulations, you must register each drone for official use, and any law enforcement officer using that drone must receive an approved certificate for training on the use of that drone, which would now make all of the use of these drones under public record. We have been covering how cops can use drones to spy on you. And if you are like me, you want ultimate privacy from the government and other bad actors when it comes to your data. This is precisely why I use NordVPN to provide me the ultimate solution to provide for my online security and privacy. One of the key benefits of partnering with NordVPN is that they will ensure your internet traffic is encrypted, keeping your sensitive data safe from hackers and online snoops. Whether you are on public Wi-Fi or browsing at home, you can rest assured that you are protected. Now, here's the best part. NordVPN is super easy to use. With the click of a button, you can connect to the fastest servers available. Get lightning fast internet speed without sacrificing any security. As a bonus, with thousands of servers in over 60 countries, NordVPN ensures that you can access your favorite content from anywhere in the world. So, if you want peace of mind while surfing the web, NordVPN is offering a special discount you can only find right here on this channel for our viewers. Get NordVPN 2-year plan plus 4 months extra plus 20 gigabyte Saley data, a discount not offered anywhere else. Plus, it's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Click down in the description below and get the link to receive your special offer and get started today. Now, back to those drones and how cops are using them to spy on you. The only thing that really matters here, at the end of the day, do cops have to have a warrant in order to use these drones? The answer to that question requires us to look at local state laws. Currently, at least 18 states require police officers to obtain a valid search warrant in order to conduct surveillance through the use of drones. Let's go through each one of them. These states include Alaska, Florida, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maine, Montana, Nevada, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and Wisconsin. But what if you don't live in one of these states? Does the Fourth Amendment protect you at all from the use of drones by law enforcement with no warrant? Unfortunately, the Supreme Court has yet to rule on this issue. But recently, an appeals court in Michigan took up this issue and answered that it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment. In the case Long Lake Township versus Todd Maxson, local officials claimed that a couple, Todd and Heather Maxson, were violating local city ordinances by keeping junk cars on their property and other things the city didn't like. Of course, what did the city do about this? They flew one of their drones above Todd Maxson's home and his private property and took pictures of things they believed violated the city ordinances, and then they wanted to admit that into evidence in court. The Maxsons, of course, filed a motion to suppress, claiming that a warrantless search had taken place when they decided to use a drone to take pictures and use this as evidence without a warrant. The photos were not allowed to be admitted into evidence in court because the court relied upon the two-part test established in Katz versus U.S. Under the test, a government official is deemed to have violated the Fourth Amendment and a search has taken place if two conditions are met. Number one, the object or area of surveillance created a subjective expectation of privacy for the person being accused. In other words, you had a valid expectation personally that you had a privacy right. Number two, that subjective expectation is one society as a whole is prepared to accept as reasonable. In other words, society agrees with your opinion that you should have an expectation of privacy. The Supreme Court has considered the constitutionality of aerial surveillance in 3 specific cases since the 1980s. And in every one of these, the Supreme Court has ruled that warrantless aerial surveillance by the police on private citizens is not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So, until the U.S. Supreme Court changes the law on this, you can count on the fact that law enforcement is going to continue to use drone technology to spy on you without a warrant unless you live in one of these 18 states that requires cops to have a warrant in order to do so. But wait a minute, what about good old-fashioned trespass laws? If a cop flies a drone above my property, it's trespassing, right? Here's the bad news. You do not own the sky above your property up into the stratosphere. Unfortunately, this is purely for practical reasons. Think about it. As soon as aircraft became popular, legislators realized there was no way to be able to negotiate flyover rights for every single parcel of land all across the country. So as a result of that, they basically ruled there are no property rights for areas well above your property. But this is really confusing because there has never been a specific law passed establishing the minimum legal altitude for flying over someone's private property with an aircraft. Why? Because most aircraft back in time flew way above private property, so it wasn't that big of a concern. Until legislators establish a law making it clear how much of the air you own above your private property, the rules on drone usage by law enforcement are going to continue to be confusing. So here's the big question everyone asks me when it comes to drones. If I see a police drone flying above my property or maybe near one of my windows or in my backyard, can I do something about it? I mean, can I take it down? What exactly am I allowed to do? So what can you do if you see a police drone flying around your property or down low near one of your windows? What are you allowed to do and what are you not allowed to do? I've heard some people say that they'll do whatever it takes to bring down that drone if they ever see a police drone around their house. Here's the problem. One thing is crystal clear. It is illegal and a federal crime to shoot down a drone. In fact, under 18 U.S.C. 32, it makes it, quote, a felony to damage or destroy an aircraft, end quote. And yes, under FAA regulations, a drone is considered an aircraft. You don't believe me that this can happen? Check out this guy where he learned the hard way that shooting down a drone could land him in jail. In fact, he shot down a Walmart delivery drone believing that it was spying on him, and as a result of that, he was arrested. So what can you do if you see a drone flying around your house? Shut your windows, pull your shades, and anything that's important to you on the outside, bring it inside. Because there's one thing we know for sure drones cannot do is come inside your home. But wait a minute, there still has to be some limitation here on the cops, right? I mean, what if you have a police drone flying literally within feet of your windows or your homes around the outside of your airspace? Is that illegal? Unfortunately, no. There is no ceiling on a landowner's airspace, and you don't own the air. In fact, the Serralo case we mentioned earlier established that the open airspace around your home is seen as a public vantage point. And if the public can see it, then the cops are allowed to see it, and they don't need a warrant. And we learned in Florida versus Riley that even though normally aircraft should stay 500 feet above the ground, that it was not illegal or a violation of your Fourth Amendment privacy rights for a helicopter to go below that 500 feet down to below 400 feet. That was still seen as legal and not a search under the Fourth Amendment. So what's the point? You don't own the airspace above your home, and cops can continue to fly drones around your house unless you're in one of these states that requires officers to have a warrant to use them. Now, what if I told you that cops also have a technology that allows them to see through the walls of your home and invade your privacy in a completely different way? Check out this next video where I'll break it all down. See you over there.